Did you recently start a business? Got a product to sell? No idea how? Or worse, did your recent merchandise launch fail despite your greatest efforts? You've come to the right place. This video was made especially for new business owners to give them the marketing know-how necessary to sell their products more efficiently. In it, I will be directing your attention towards the most useful tips and tricks used by large companies that you can easily and rapidly implement in your business. And while there's an almost infinite variety of marketing techniques to choose from, the three main ones that I will focus on in this video will be color theory and its influences on the human mind, guerrilla marketing and the lessons we can learn from it, and the immense versatility of pricing strategies. Also, remember, if you'd like to skip to a certain part of the video, click the designated area on the bar down below to be taken straight there. Now, just a minute before we start, I feel like I must mention that these subjects were not picked at random. No, on the contrary, they are, in my opinion, the easiest sources to access for concrete, applicable advice that you can take, learn from, and put directly in your own business. Color theory, in particular, is a concept that's very easy to understand, and that once you do, you can link your product with color, therefore associating it to the emotion that you want your customer to feel, thus encouraging them to buy it. On the other hand, analyzing examples of guerrilla marketing will show you the importance of creativity, as well as the way to scale your advertising to the largest market possible. Whereas, pricing strategies are the epitome of doing less but better, meaning that just by modifying the price with certain tactics, you can gently turn your consumer towards the product that makes you the most profit, with little to no work, just a little knowledge about the human psyche. So, firstly, what is color theory? In marketing, color theory is a psychological principle that bases itself on the fact that humans have 5 senses, and that they use these 5 senses to interpret advertising. But that sight is by far the most powerful one. In fact, a digital marketing company called Rev Local interviewed quite a few people, asking them what aspect, based on their 5 senses, was the main one that pushed them to buy the product. And 93%, 93, stated that it was the visual aspect. This demonstrates that our sense of sight is by and large the one that controls most of the other ones. Therefore, color theory is an extremely powerful tool, which can explain why so many companies employ this strategy in their logos, their products, their advertising, basically everything that touches you, the consumer. Consequently, with this knowledge in hand, you can start to name the sentiment that each color triggers. In most Western sources, red is symbolic of power, of love, of danger, mostly due to its resemblance with human blood. It's no surprise then that companies who are in the business of relationships, like Tinder, which is a dating app, use a reddish logo. Next, yellow, probably due to the fact that it shares its color with the sun, is generally related to optimism, happiness, that sort of thing. Now, McDonald's, by coincidence, happens to have a Happy Meal. You can start to see how these links are made. McDonald's associates its Happy Meal with the feeling of happiness. And the color of their logo, psychologically, tells you the same. Now, by association, orange is a general mix of the better aspects of these two colors. And it's used by many companies, Home Depot, Fanta, etc. Then, green, as it is related to nature, symbolizes growth. But it can also be correlated with the green means go mentality, because it's found on stoplights. On the other hand, when companies want to value trust and loyalty, blue is usually the color that's used. Purple is a little different. Historically, it was the color that was most expensive to dye. Therefore, it can represent opulence, luxury, that sort of thing. Prestige, possibly. See here, Whole Foods, they sell organic products related to nature, green logo. American Express, credit card company. Credit is based on trust, wholly. Their logo is blue. Finally, NYU, clearly the New York University, wants to feel good about themselves by using purple. They send that feeling to you. White also has similar meanings to purple, related to opulence. But it shows more purity and perfection, possibly because it has religious undertones for some people. This is why luxury brands use it quite a bit. Now, black is interesting because it's also used by these companies quite a bit, but it has different meanings. Black shows a little bit more elegance, a little bit more sophistication, and can even go so far as to give a mysterious kind of air to the product. Now, brands like Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Yves Saint Laurent, they use these colors to market their products as high-quality items. So, now that you know these, for the 8 main colors that you'll be using, I leave you with one parting comment. Be careful. Colors don't always mean the same thing in all places. For example, green in North America is correlated with nature. We said it already. Trees, grass, everything like that. However, if you're marketing a product in an Asian country, be careful. Green can represent disease, infection, things that you don't want people to think when they see your product. Just remember, be careful. Next, in the second part of this video, we'll look at guerrilla marketing. Now this term, you might not be familiar with it, seems a little unconventional, but it actually makes a lot of sense, and I'll tell you why. It stems from the concept of guerrilla warfare, where a smaller army would take on a larger one by using unorthodox methods, such as sabotage, propaganda, sowing dissension in the enemy camp, fighting and then running away. In this example, you see how they're placed on an elevated position where the larger army is not expecting them to be, that sort of thing. To that end, we call guerrilla marketing any type of marketing that's aggressive in its presentation, that goes directly to the consumer, that's large, that's unexpected. It's just a general category. And to explain this, I'll show you a few examples. Let's start with this. In this case, the company Bic turned a roadside billboard into an eye-catching marketing marvel. With very little work, just acquiring the billboard and such a large razor, they create something that would attract anybody's attention going down the road. And on top of that, they send a powerful message that their razors are capable of cutting grass. This type is often named ambient marketing because you modify nature to advertise a product. Another option is to promote items through social media. Possibly the greatest use of this happened in early 2016 when Marvel Studios created a Tinder profile for the main character of their upcoming action movie, Deadpool. You see, it has an image and a biography. This is a great way to get so many people to watch the movie that is coming out soon, since Tinder is an app that's used by millions of adults. And while we're on the subject of movies, let's look at Warner Brothers Pictures. Now, Warner Brothers was releasing a remake of the classic horror film by Stephen King, It. Now, in the original version, the serial killer is represented by the red balloon. It appears throughout the film at different instances, and he is often found in the sewers of the city. So what they did is they went in many American towns and attached red balloons to sewer grids. This is perfect. A terrifying way to get people to notice, to read, and to go see the film that ties into the story. We'll look at another example like that at the end of this section. Of course, we can learn not only from persuasive marketing, but also from societal marketing. Take this example. Sarova Hotels, a company based in Kenya, started affixing fake animals to street lamps to send a strong message about the environmental crisis. See how such a simple idea can be so provoking, attention-catching, and witty. This is the goal. Find a way to advertise your product that stands so far out, for example, by its fear element, its unique element, whatever it is, as long as the audience has never seen it before, or that it scares them. You will be remembered. And this is the key. Being remembered in people's minds will lead them to buy your product. So, let's look at my favorite example. BBC's Dracula billboard. This thing is perfection incarnate. By day, we see only a bizarre arrangement of bloody sticks. But by night, a light affixed on the billboard shines and projects a Dracula-shaped shadow to the right of the stakes. Brilliant. In the story Dracula, what does he do? He's a vampire, can only come out at night. Therefore, their advertising for their show Dracula should only come out at night. Absolutely genius. Remember this? Take advantage of this and create a marketing campaign that is brilliant. Be smart. I know you can do it. Thirdly, and most importantly, let's finally take a look at pricing strategies. If you're not familiar with what this appellation entails exactly, don't worry. It's very simple. A pricing strategy can be defined as any marketing technique that makes use of the price of a single product or of a group of products to encourage the sale of one in particular. Now, usually, we encourage the sale of the one that makes the company the most profit. This is logical, of course. Now, what I want you to remember is that these are your bread and butter in your marketing process. They're so easy. All you're doing is changing the price, and the impact that it can have is enormous. Let's look at a few of the best. The first one we'll examine is the decoy effect. Let's start with an example, see if you can interpret it. So first, we have here two options. You want to buy a blender. Here, you have a 5-piece set, $89. Here, 12-piece set, $149. Now, if you need a blender, you'll make this choice on some kind of personal valuation of which one is more worth it, and most people will probably go for this one because they tell themselves, well, I don't need all those other accessories and all that plastic and whatever, right? However, if I do this and I introduce a third option to the mix, your perception might change. Take a look at this third option. 9-piece set for $125. Now, here, you might think to yourself, oh, well, you know, this 9-piece set, I get 100 more watts, 4 more pieces, for only $36 more. And further, $24 more than that will get me 3 more pieces. And suddenly, they've pushed you towards buying this one or that one, which obviously make them more profit because they're selling what on top of it? A bunch of plastic, right? Nothing. You just fell for it, right? This is a psychological concept called asymmetrical dominance. It was first introduced in the Journal of Consumer Research in 1982. It basically states that it's possible, using only the price of a product, to make one of them seem much more attractive than the other. And you just witnessed it. Here, the introduction of this product, which we call the decoy, made it much more attractive, since it seemed as a middle option between the two extremes. Now, how do you apply this if you are a business owner? Well, let's use an example. Let's say that you own a movie theater and you sell popcorn. All right? You have a small and you have a large. Now, the large makes you much more profit because, well, you're selling popcorn. It's extremely cheap, bigger quantities, higher price. There you go. So you want to encourage the sale of the large even further. Here's what I propose to you. Introduce a medium size. Overprice the medium, underprice the large. Then people will tell themselves, well, you know, I get this amount with the medium, but the price is a little ridiculous. Whereas with the large, I get much more for only 20 cents more, 30 cents more. There you go. You just got it. Most people, 90%, will go and buy the large because in their minds, it's more worth it. And they forget what they really want, what they really need. They just start trying to find how to get the best deal. Next, there's prestige and charm pricing. So let's start with prestige. Look at these three figures here. If I had to ask you which one was most likely a luxury item, which one would you name? I'll give you a few moments here. Go ahead. Take a good look. All right, now if you're like most people, you probably answered this, 40. Why? Well, because it's flat, and it has a nice string of zeros, you might tell yourself. Indeed. You'll understand why you picked this after we look at the next one. So let's get back to it. This, which you've seen everywhere in your life, is charm pricing. And now, I mean, you've seen this everywhere. In the grocery store, at the store, the computer store, whatever, right? Everywhere this happens. Everything is sold for something 99 instead of a flat price. Why? Here is the real reason. Over on the left here, the dollar amount, 4, is one higher than this one, 3. Pretty obvious, right? But it's really that simple. You see, your brain interprets $3.99 at a first glance as $3. And therefore, it distinguishes a difference between this one and that one, despite the fact that they only have a 1-cent difference. It's quite a useful trick. But now let's get back to prestige pricing. If this, over here, makes a product seem cheaper and convinces you that you will be able to pay less for it, then on the flip side, paying a flat amount convinces you that the product is high quality because it opposes this. So something that finishes in 00 will, in your head, most likely be an item that's more sophisticated, more elegant, more higher quality. You understand. It's very effective. Of course, you can't forget comparative pricing. This is often used by luxury brands, and you can see it the next time you go to that kind of store. It boils down to this. 2 products that are identical, if not extremely similar, are placed next to each other with different price tags. For example, a suit at $275 and a suit at $300. Now, the average person who comes in, who isn't a tailor, because a tailor comes in, looks at certain elements, you know, the stitching and whatever, right? But the average person that comes in, do they really make their purchase based on such technical factors? No. No, they look generally at the appearance, okay. It looks good, right? You know, they're nice. But often, to distinguish if something is high quality, people have the ingrained belief to look at the price, to think that the quality is linked to the price. I know, it sounds ridiculous. You might tell yourself, that's stupid. I don't think about that. I'm better than that. And yes, you probably are. But this is the essence of pricing. It targets your psychology, your subconscious mind, the mind that you can't control. And I'll tell you something. The first reaction of most people is to think this, is to look at the price first, to know if it's good or not. Here's a further example. If you're an artist, listen up, because you got the opportunity to make quite a bit of money. All right? If your artwork hasn't been selling very well recently, I got the solution for you. List your higher prices. Seriously. Put your prices high. It's that simple. To somebody who, doesn't really know how to appreciate art, they will look at the price. They will. So if your price is higher, that person will look at your work of art and think, well, this is better. It's got a higher price. It must be sophisticated. It must be higher quality. It must be more interesting. And there you go. They get caught. Just like that. So, don't fall into this trap, but also, if you sell a product or art that's a little bit more elegant, a little bit more refined, use this strategy to get people to buy the more expensive. Next, there's a very, very crucial one. In essence, you should list your higher prices first. I'll explain. Take a situation where you have a list of prices, all in order. Now, it's assumed that most people read top to bottom, so we'll follow that logic. I'll start by showing you what happens if you list your lower prices first. Okay, so look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, ranging from $20 to almost $80. Okay? Now, as a person goes down the list, they get the feeling that they're losing. Losing what? Losing the ability to pay less money. Right? They look at this, and okay, $22, and then they go down and down and down and down the list, and by the time that they're end of the list, they tell themselves, this is outrageously expensive. I'm going back to the first option, and I'm buying the cheapest thing because it's cheap, and I will get to pay less money. See, by doing this, you convince them that the best option to purchase is the first one. On the flip side, listing your higher prices first also makes them feel like they're losing as they go down the list. But they lose something different. Not the ability to pay less. They perceive a loss in value. As they go down the list, prices get smaller and smaller, of course. And since they compare each one to the first one they've seen, which is the highest one, they tell themselves, well, this one's cheaper. Now, the first one I read was the most expensive one. But this one's cheaper. That might indicate that it's worse, it's less interesting, it's less attractive, less visually appealing, etc. These are all things that they can think. But the result is, they'll be convinced that the first option that they saw is the best to purchase. You see, in both cases, that happens. This is a sort of play on the attachment bias. Because the first thing that a person will read in a list will usually be the one that they get attached to. And therefore will be the product that they compare other prices to. This is the key. Do this in your list of products and you'll see you'll be selling the most expensive one almost every time. Nevertheless, let's get back to numerical values. In a study performed in 2015 by the digital library JSTOR, it was shown that the shorter the price is in any sense of the word, the more likely it was to be purchased. Now, we saw earlier in the prestige pricing section that putting a flat figure, as in with 00 at the end, is a good way of making a product seem like it is higher quality. But here, we go further. We show a price as only the numerical value without decimals. Why, you might ask? Because the human mind sees this, literally, as a shorter amount, and therefore a smaller amount. Seems ridiculous to think this, right? But it's true. If, for example, on this menu, you look, all the numbers are shown like that. 10, 10, 20, 36, 95. What an easy way to do this. Chop off the decimals, and people think it's immediately higher quality, and that they're paying less subconsciously. However, the step further is to remove the dollar sign. What an essential way to make people forget about money and just purchase things than removing the evidence of money completely. Without a dollar sign, people subconsciously forget that they're even purchasing things. They think they're getting it for free. Money is taken out of the equation. Genius. Absolutely genius. If you have any kind of store, I strongly recommend that you do this. And finally, just because I want to give you a little extra one, a good trick, price your base option as cheap as possible, and all the add-ons on top of it, make them expensive. So when a person goes, buys the base product, they tell themselves, what's this? It has nothing. It's barren. I need to buy the add-ons. Then when they go to buy the add-ons, that's where you make your money. Huh? Little thing here costs more, little thing here costs more. This is what they use when you go to buy a car. The price they'll advertise in almost every place is the absolute base price. You're surprised the car even comes with windows in that scenario. You know what I mean? But then you go to purchase it and you realize, oh, well, the air conditioning, it doesn't have any, or the radio, or this. And then suddenly, right, you're up $10,000 because of all these little accessories that you bought on top. This is a good trick, too, if you sell any larger scale products. Now, to conclude, these 3 statements should be your commandments to follow to the letter in your business. I will tell them to you. Number 1, always link your product to the emotion you want your customer to feel when they buy it, and by association, to the color that this emotion is related to. Color theory in a sentence. 2, take inspiration from guerrilla marketing. Find the most provocative and intelligent way to get your customers' attention with your product. And 3, use pricing strategies to gently push your customer towards buying the option that makes you the most profit. Here are the works that I've cited for the purpose of this video. You'll find them in the description along with a list of other sources you can consult if you'd like more information on color theory, guerrilla marketing, or pricing strategies. I thank you very much for watching. Please comment if you learned anything interesting, and good luck with your business. You can do it.